Welcome, listener, singular.
Welcome, Dad.
Welcome, Dad, by which I mean Owen.
And Carl.
And Carl.
And Jordan.
And Jordan. Do we have 4 listeners?
Well, we'll see. It's been a while.
That would be amazing.
Welcome back to another episode of Popcorn Dust. You may remember us from our few podcasts that we did several years ago.
Yeah, girl, what was even the last one that we did?
Was it...
It couldn't have been Hocus Pocus.
I think it might have... The Notebook? I know we were going to do Twilight. And...
We recorded one about Twilight and then never uploaded it. We never finished editing it.
Well, because it was too much. I was actually comparing the note that I took for the film that we're about to talk about to the note that I still have in my phone for each of the Twilight movies. And the notes that I took for this film are so minimal. And the Twilight ones were just so hefty. It's no wonder that podcast never got to see the light of day.
Well, hopefully it does eventually, because we had a blast recording it. So that means it's probably terrible.
Yeah, oh, it's definitely terrible.
Yeah.
We gotta get back our 2 to 3 listeners, and then we can...
Then we can think about expanding, yeah. I'm unable to achieve success. The only time I ever got followers on any social media platform, I immediately stopped using it.
Yeah, no, me too.
Yeah.
When my blog started getting successful, I was like,
ew, yeah.
Better stop that. I don't want people looking at me.
Yeah, but that's probably healthy. I think we're
maybe.
doing the right thing.
Maybe. Anyway, today we're here to talk about not something contemporary, not a new film. In fact, I don't even know what year this is from, but we're...
Oh my god, we should definitely have that knowledge.
Okay, well, you do some Googling while I tell our handful of listeners that we are talking about The Girl on the Train. And we're talking about this film because I wanted to. We've been saying...
Because I wanted to. 2016, so that's very... I feel like that's a different universe now.
Oh my god, it is, because it's pre-COVID.
It's pre-Trump, it's pre-Brexit. Well, it's probably contemporary with Brexit.
Yeah, and contemporary.
It was made, I suppose it was filmed and edited in a world pre-Trump and Brexit, which seems unfathomable to do our brains now, you know.
Yeah, it was also pre us living together. It was pre us getting engaged, and it was
getting married.
Pre us getting married.
We also did.
That happened recently. So now we are Mrs. and Mrs. Popcorn Dust.
Yes. Mr.'s Popcorn Dust.
Yeah. And the film that we are discussing today is also about blissful matrimony.
Yeah.
The Girl on the Train.
I suppose. Yeah.
I mean, it is a lot about... it's about... Is it about marriage? Is it about relationships?
It's about relationships. It's about motherhood. It's about any of those things that the movie has to be about when you have a female protagonist. Yeah. Not to already get into my feelings.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Well, I mean, my like I say,
you immediately look at your notes yeah.
Well, my notes on this are slim, I suppose, is what I was gonna say. So I don't exactly have a vision as to how I want to structure this or anything, but I thought it was funny that you started off with female protagonist, because one of the notes that I've written is, name a man in this film who isn't scum. And then as soon as I wrote that note, I then for the rest of the film started trying to find men.
The non-scum man.
Yeah, and I have 2 written down, but I don't think it counts because I said name and I haven't named them. The first one is unnamed male detective. Maybe he has a name, but
the kind of short, roundy guy.
Yeah, but I forget it. I don't know if he even has a line. But the other guy who isn't scum is Redhead McRandom.
Oh, the rando train guy. Yeah, no, he was the true protagonist.
Yeah. I mean, nobody cares about those, but I just wanted to say they're the only 2 in this that might not be male scum.
Yeah, male scum.
And I mean, honestly, most of the people in this film are scum. Yeah. Another of the notes that I have written down is, for a long time, who are you even meant to be rooting for?
I think that's kind of a staple of that kind of murder mystery genre type thing. It's kind of because I used to watch a bit of Midsummer Murders with my mom and stuff like that. Where
so did I. And my nan.
It's everyone in this story is a complete dick, and it's like that on purpose, so you don't know who has motive to do the bad thing,
Yeah. I was gonna say that I thought the film did a relatively good job of making me, I don't know about you, but it made me care even though everybody was kind of scummy. I kind of was rooting for Emily Blunt, even though you weren't really supposed to like her, but I was kind of rooting for her character. And also I should just say up top, because we usually forget to. Super spoiler alert if you haven't seen this film from 2016 or 2015.
Like if you're the kind of loser who cares about spoilers for a movie that is literally how many years old?
Yeah, whatever.
6?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Pre-contemporary world. But yeah, I thought I did a pretty good job of... I cared about Emily Blunt, even
I cared about her, but I think that's because I care more about characters when they're, like, a disgusting mess. Like, someone who's, like, you know, screaming whore at someone in public and, like...
And can't quite remember.
And, like, blacking out drunk. Like, I'm just, like... Queen, you know, like she doesn't know whether she killed someone because that seems like something that may have happened. Mm-hmm. Like I'm just like same.
It's certainly a more interesting person to follow than, you know, Jenny who works at 9 to 5.
Yeah, because I think like a lot of the time, you know, I suppose in a more like fluffy movie, your protagonist is a girl who is ostensibly kind of perfect and an ideal person, but they have some kind of like exterior quirks that are supposed to, you know, bring them down to the viewer's level, you know. And it's like, I mean, this isn't how I live. It's like Bridget Jones, where they're always talking about how disgustingly fat she is.
Oh my god, I know.
And it's like, bitch, this is a skinny,
she's
rich
a model
woman. Like, what are you talking about? And I feel like to see someone, you know, because Emily Blunt, like, I feel like the makeup was quite good in this movie because, like, she looks like she slept in her eyeliner and all this kind of thing. I was just like, yeah, like, this person does look like she has problems. Yeah. As much as someone who's, like, a beautiful actress can, you know?
One of the other, it's funny that you're talking about sort of the like, how completely alien and unrelatable these people are in this film, because one of the things that I've written down is that the only relatable moment in any of these women's lives is the moment when Anna, who is the new wife of the husband who cheated on Emily Blunt, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she opens up a drawer. She finds an old phone and it's dead, and she opens up a drawer full of chargers and she plugs it in to just whichever one fits. And I was like, we all have that drawer, and that's the only thing about this film that I relate to any of them on.
See, I feel like even like the charger drawer, like in my family it was a bowl.
That's true.
I feel like that's kind of very mid 2000s. It's kind of that decade. It's kind of a decade old, kind of, you know.
Because... Do people not have those anymore? I suppose.
No, like you and I don't, because chargers have kind of become universalized. So like your USB-C or I think Apple has something else, but I don't know about that because I don't earn enough money to own any Apple products.
I still have like a box full of chargers, but it's not because they're all different. It's because I'm so concerned that something will happen to one of my chargers and it will break. Yes, it's hoarding is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I still have that. Also, the phone. Am I crazy, or was that like a super mega old phone?
It looked like one of those sort of cheap phones that you can get. It didn't look old necessarily because like the aesthetics didn't necessarily match. Yeah. But I would have called that like, because you can get, because you have a phone that's a bit like that. Well, you have like a Nokia brick type of thing.
I had to super order that though.
Yeah, well, you would if you were having an affair with a woman that you then smash her head off a rock.
I like that you're not questioning that I have that phone.
You said it was for business, and I simply don't ask questions. You play Snake on it, and I think that's like evidence enough that you're not having an affair.
Yeah, no one would want to have an affair with someone who plays Snake.
No, I think that's fine. But like, I think if you were having an affair on it, you would be texting your mistress on it instead of playing Snake. You know, I think you would just download Snake on your regular phone if that's. I've talked myself around to thinking that is an affair phone. Okay. So,
well, I
never
think
mind.
Now after hearing you talk about it, I think it is an affair phone. I'm not using it as such, but now I like to think. I like to think that my little.
I don't know.
my little blue Nokia phone, I've now decided is an affair phone, and that's the most I got out of this film.
Yeah, but I suppose it's a contemporary phone, and because I think that kind of phone is because they're cheap. And they don't have a lot of functionalities. They don't have like, you know, reliable internet access and stuff like that. You know, people would use them as like, or they would consider, you know, sort of burner phone type of thing where it's like, oh, I'll just chuck it.
Yeah. I suppose we've kind of jumped right into how we feel about it. We should probably do a little bit.
We jumped
of,
right
like...
into who the killer was.
Yeah. Now let's talk about what the film is.
Okay, yeah.
And I keep calling, I don't know why I do this, but whoever the lead person is, I always refer to them as their actor name, and then everyone else is characters. But
I do that too, but that's because I can never... Okay, now, in my defense, I can never remember movie characters' names, and this movie does not fucking help, because the three pivotal female characters in this movie are called Rachel, Anna, and Megan. Like, tell me how that is not three of the same name.
They all start with a different letter.
They do. They are all just like girl you know from primary school names.
And only two of them are blonde. What do you mean you can't tell these women apart?
Oh my god, I literally wrote 2 blonde women, 2 question marks. And like it later turned out that that's kind of part of
that's
that's on purpose.
Yeah.
Because I often have that in movies where I'm like, I don't know who's who, I'm confused. Like women especially, but also sometimes men, because if there's like hot men, quote unquote, in a movie, like they'll all kind of look generally similar.
If all the Chris's are in a film together.
if a Chris is in a movie. Oh my god, I recently found out that Dylan Minnette and Dylan O'Brien are 2 different actors.
Okay, I think I know who Dylan O'Brien is, and I have never heard of the other Dylan.
Dylan O'Brien is he Maze Runner?
Is he Teen Wolf? People who are listening, tell us, are they the same person?
Dylan Minnette was from the Tapes one with the Suicide Girl. What was that called? 13 Reasons Why.
I was going to be like, Gone Girl?
No.
Are we speaking the same language?
Yeah, Dylan Minnette was the guy from 13 Reasons Why. Dylan O'Brien was the lead in... Was he Maze Runner? No, he was Teen Wolf, you're correct.
Okay. Well, he is in Teen Wolf. He's the best friend. But I think he is in Maze Runner
He's
as well.
Maze Runner, he's Teen Wolf.
Okay.
That's him. But I recently found out they're 2 different guys.
Okay.
They're like similar looking men. And I just like, if someone has TV face, I don't know who they are. Okay. That's my point.
Well, I just found out that Dylan O'Brien is Maze Runner. And also that there's another Dylan.
And there's another Dylan who is not Dylan O'Brien. Okay. Because I was actually watching a video recently where... It was about 13 Reasons Why. Mm-hmm. And the guy in the video kept referring to him as Dylan Minnette. And I was like, is this like a in-joke that I don't get? Why is he calling Dylan O'Brien Dylan Minnette? And then I was like, it's a fully different man.
Is that Dylan the main Dylan? Sorry, not the main Dylan. Is he the main Dylan, guy? Yeah. The main guy in 13 Reasons Why.
Yeah.
Okay, I could pick him out of a lineup. I can tell you. Yeah.
Would you say that he's not Dylan O'Brien?
I can confirm he is a different person.
Oh, you're saying that because I've just told you. I think if I like catfished you into this, I think I could have tricked you that
both.
he was Dylan O'Brien.
I have seen 13 Reasons Why, and also my sister made me watch Teen Wolf, and I had to pay very close attention because it was kind of the only thing that we ever talked about because it was all she would talk to me about. So I had to pay pretty close attention. So I know that they're different Dylans.
You can say that all you want.
Anyway, yes.
Anyway, back to this movie. Plot. Back to this movie that we still haven't talked about. There are 2 blondes, yeah.
So Emily Blunt is our main character. She's Rachel. She is it's revealed to be, she's a, alcoholic.
She's an alcoholic who goes on the train a lot.
Whose life is just a little bit crumbling into pieces. And she's
like divorced.
Yeah, she's divorced and kind of obsessing over it, we are sort of led to believe. She is sort of keeping an eye on her husband who is now married to
someone else who
they have
a baby together. Yeah. And one of the previously mentioned blondes.
Yeah. And the woman he is now married to, whose name is Anna, the 2 of them were cheating on Emily Blunt's character, Rachel. And when Emily Blunt / Rachel could not have a child, shortly thereafter he left her for this other woman, and they had a child basically immediately. So very hurt feelings on Emily Blunt's end. So that's kind of her backstory, and then also I guess this other blonde woman.
Oh yeah, because she kind of from the first scene of the movie, it's kind of like in voiceover, she's talking about how she is peeping on people from the train, and she's like, I like to think about what they're doing, and I see this one woman, and I think about her perfect life and what it is, and with her partner, like, oh, how much they must love each other and everything. At this point, I was like, yes, I can say, because like I take public transportation a lot because I cannot drive. And I was like, I also see people, and I do like form attachments to them
and assign them like backstories.
I don't even assign them backstories, but I suppose I've become very invested in their little things that they have going on. So like there was one guy I used to see going into when I used to work in the Liberties, and it was an old man who used to walk around with a cat.
Oh yeah.
And like one morning the cat wasn't there, and I was like, oh my god, where's the cat? And I got really worried. I was like, where is it? Where is it? Is it going to appear? And then just before the bus pulled away, the cat appeared. And I was like, thank god.
So you are the girl on the train.
I am the girl. Well, that is part of the reason why like I kind of veered away from being extremely interested in this movie, is because like that initial thing that I related to pretty quickly melted away, you know, because like the start of the movie is like this concept that I think is pretty interesting, of this voyeuristic thing of being interested in somebody's life who you see but don't necessarily know, like they don't necessarily know that you're even there or whatever. And then it's like, oh well, it's like about her husband and this woman that he's like having an affair with. Like it quickly becomes much more, I suppose, of a standard expected murder story, you know, where it's like this idea of this voyeuristic woman who like has an extremely unreliable memory is interesting to me in a way that I thought could have been served by a different story, you know?
Right. Okay. Well, so you just wish it was a different film.
Yeah. I'm like, I wish the first scene of this movie ended up being a different movie. I'm like, yeah, you know what? This is setting up a bunch of themes and stuff that I enjoy and I think are interesting and, you know, are worth like making a story out of, and then it just told a different story. And like, you know, I understand that I have to take the story as it is and whatever, but
well, see, I love well, I don't know that I love this story. I love this type of story. I am all about the murder mysteries and the women going missing and the children going missing and the, you know, looking for
you love children going missing.
Oh, sorry, please excuse the sounds of our dog destroying our house.
Well, she's just falling
clumsily.
Over.
I mean, it's not, her intent isn't to destroy. It's just the byproduct.
Her intent is to destroy. Like, you know, because Willow wrecks stuff. Willow is our baby dog. Well, she's 2. She's not a baby. But yes, I'm talking about you. I'm sorry. She can destroy, and her intent is to destroy, and your ability to destroy just becomes depreciated as you become 17, as Misty is. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
Yes. So, if you hear stuff in the background, just assume it is one of 2 dogs. I'm all about this type of film. This type of film is made for me. Yeah. So I know that when I'm now that you're kind of talking about that sort of voyeuristic thing, I'm kind of remembering how it was for me the first time I watched it, because this is the 3rd time I've seen it. I think it's your 2nd time.
It's my 2nd time. Yeah. When was the 2nd time you saw it?
So I saw it in the cinema with my mum and my nan, and then I made you watch it.
Yes. With my family, was it?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it was with your family, but I just remember that like I really liked it from the cinema, so I wanted to share it with you. You weren't as crazy about it, and funny, now that we're watching it years later, I'm actually kind of like, it's not as good as I remember.
Oh, really? Yeah. Interesting.
But at the time, I was mad about it. At the time, I loved it because I like to be fooled. I like a plot twist, and I am normally pretty decent at spotting a plot twist coming, because there's like formula, you know, as somebody who's been writing since I was a child, like you study up on this stuff and you learn what the, you know, what is probably going to be the plot twist, or, you know, just the spanner in the works. And I didn't see this one coming, so I enjoyed that I was fooled. Maybe I shouldn't have been, because it was kind of like, now that I'm looking back on it, I'm like, well, they're kind of, you know, there's hints, there's pretty significant hints at it all the way along. So I probably shouldn't have been fooled, but I was. So at the time I really liked it, and now I'm kind of not as sure because I'm watching back on it with, obviously, you know, remembering it. So I don't have that beautiful element of being surprised. So yeah, I don't know if it holds up the way I felt about it. But you didn't like it before. How do you feel about it now? Do you remember? Because when you went into this today, you kind of weren't 100% crystal clear on the ending. You kind of had vague feelings about what it was, but you didn't remember it properly.
Yeah, because I had the imagery of her ex-husband and her like fighting on the lawn. And I remembered that was the point at which I was annoyed at the movie.
Right.
And that was kind of all I really remembered of it. Like I remembered kind of like, you know, the opening sequences, and I remembered the setup, and I remembered a few like glimpses of it, but the only really clear memory I had of the movie was the end, because I was kind of mad at it at the time.
Right.
Now I feel like less strongly about it, because I guess I remembered it and I was like, oh, okay, well that's where it's going, kind of.
And why didn't you like the ending? So the ending is basically that, you know, it turns out Emily Blunt's character Rachel isn't as much of a mess as we've been led to believe. You know, we've heard all these stories about, we're seeing her memories of her doing these terrible things, but it turns out actually she has been kind of, is it gaslit or gaslighted? Gaslit.
Good point. I would say gaslit.
Yeah, she's been gaslit by her ex-husband.
Yeah, because she was like drunk, and he was like telling her like the next day basically that she did a lot of shit that she didn't do, and that kind of thing. Yeah.
And one of the big things that we didn't really, you know, you don't learn this until kind of near the end, but like he had apparently told her that he was fired because of her behavior at one of his work functions, and that is not true, and he was fired for completely separate reasons. But like at this point you kind of realize just the level of sort of deception in their marriage.
And also he killed the girl.
Oh, also he's murdered.
I think that's the twist, really.
Well, is that the, I don't know that, for me, I don't know that that's the twist, because like I suppose for me I was kind of not as surprised to find out that he was the murderer, but I was surprised to find out that the memories of hers that we were seeing weren't correct. The unreliable narrator thing. So learn that...
In the beginning, I kind of thought that a lot of the things that we were seeing were more unreliable narrator stuff than it actually turned out being.
Oh, okay. So I think I
overestimated how hard they were going with that stuff,
and I underestimated. So
and
that's
you underestimated
why.
it. So you would have seen it as like that would be more of a twist element, where I was like, oh, you mean like the rest of it was real?
Yeah.
So actually, for example, I'll bring it up. I'll skip forward in my notes a little.
Okay.
And try not to spill my little cuppy on things.
I like that you have an order, because mine are just all over the place.
Mine don't go in chronological order. They're just as I thought of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, the note that I was looking for just says, I wish the flashbacks weren't real. So like the stuff
you wish they were real.
They weren't. So the flashbacks I'm talking about in specific with that were the ones where it flashes back to Megan's perspective, the girl who was murdered.
Yeah. Who is the woman that
who she was peeping on from the train.
Yeah.
And that's the setup in the beginning where she's like imagining her life or whatever, and like what I thought was going to be the twist at the end was that like main character whose name is Rachel. I was gonna say Laura. One of those names, you know. I thought it was gonna be that like none of that's all kind of like her imagination, kind of stuff that she like kind of made up while looking at her kind of thing.
Right. Okay.
Because I was like, because I was viewing it more because it has that kind of literary thing where it's her like monologuing to us. I thought it was going to be more about her imagining of her.
Right.
Because with the setup in the beginning, with her being like talking about how she was imagining her life and how she was idealizing this stranger, I was like, okay, well, this must be part of that. And that made sense and was interesting to me. And then in the end where I was like, okay, no, that was just real. Because like, going on about it a little bit, but like the character of Megan is really annoying.
What?
To me.
I actually really liked her character. Okay, go on. Why?
Because now let me find out how I put this.
Okay.
Specifically, I said missing girl is performatively sexual in a way that's annoying.
Okay, all right.
Because, you know, she's going into the psychiatrist's office and she's like, I've been many things over my life. I've been a whore. And then she's like trying to suck his dick while like, you know, they're in a therapy session and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't know, a lot of it was very, because later on we see fucking the main character, what's her name?
Rachel.
I'm sorry, I need to keep my notes ahead of me. You see where I'm having difficulty with these names. I'm saying main character brown-haired Rachel is kind of like, you know, she's into Megan's husband and everything, like you kind of get this vibe where like, you know, she might be lonely or something like that. I was like, is this just like a fantasy of somebody who's like sexually liberated that she kind of like wishes she could be or whatever? But it's just like, okay, well, this is just how this person was truly acting in themselves, you know? And she's kind of like, you know, like the camera is kind of lingering on her in these really sexualized ways. Like there's a bit where this was a little bit galling to me, where it's revealed later on that Megan Dead Girl being her surname.
And then they were surprised when she went missing.
I know, yeah. It's like Megan Dead Girl turns up dead. Wow. But it's revealed that like she doesn't want to have kids because she accidentally drowned her child by falling asleep holding the baby in a bath, which is like crazy levels of negligent. But she's not real, it doesn't matter. And like she runs out of the house naked and she's like got her hands up in front of her nipples very precisely, and she turns around and shows her butt to the camera, and I'm like, what is this? Like, what's happening here? Like it was sexualized in a way where I was like, the person telling the story about this woman is sexually fetishizing her in some way.
Really?
So that's how I felt about
that
it.
particular scene. I didn't feel any sexy stuff about it at all. I didn't think of it in any sort of. But I see where you're coming from. But like that,
I feel like there are ways to shoot nudity in a way where it makes a person feel vulnerable, and there are ways to shoot nudity that make it feel like a person is sexualized. And I feel like it was the latter. And like, if that's the choice, that's the choice. But I felt like that was like,
well, that's a weird moment to make that choice.
Yeah, because that's kind of, I suppose, why I really wished that a lot of the sequences with her that were, you know, because I felt like she was kind of a sexual object for most of it. It's like, is that in service of anything? Or is that just...
Yeah, it's funny because like when you brought her up, I wasn't even, and now that you talk about it, that kind of is like a huge part of her character, but really that's not what I was thinking about at all when I thought of her character.
What did you think about?
What I thought about with her character was how heavily juxtaposed she was with the other two women, Rachel and Anna, who was the woman who the husband was cheating on Rachel with, in that they both are kind of like, Rachel wanted the whole motherhood thing, and then Anna got the motherhood thing, and this girl didn't want the motherhood thing. And I just thought I was just very happy to have like
you had them on a spectrum of desiring of motherhood.
Yeah, and I was glad to see that not all the women in it wanted motherhood. I like to see that diversity. Of course, in the end, it turned out, you know, she has that reveal scene where actually she is like, well, I did have a baby once and I actually really loved it. I just don't want to have a baby again because it was traumatizing because I killed my baby.
Yeah.
Which, fair enough.
Dipshit.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I have a note that says...
She was 17, just to be fair. But anyway, go. I mean, not that you 17-year-olds can be negligent and kill their kids, but whatever.
Listen, you're 17. I understand that your brain is not fully developed. It doesn't happen until you're like 25, 24,
exactly.
26.
And she was living on her own in the woods.
Girl, don't fall asleep in the tub while holding a baby.
Okay, yes, I agree. I agree. I would like to make it clear for the record that my stance is don't fall asleep in the tub with a baby.
Yeah, don't fall asleep in the tub generally.
Well, yeah.
Like,
true.
I take baths a lot. Like, don't fall asleep.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
Oh, yeah. I wrote a note that says, I'm tired of female character arcs always being about motherhood.
Okay. I guess that's fair.
I'm tired of it. I'm like,
yeah.
It's, you know, because I feel like female characters, I think it's cool, you know, heading it off at the pass so I'm not sexist. I like when women characters have like motivations and deep feelings or whatever. I'm just always sick of it being the one thing.
Okay, that is fair. I suppose I guess I'm still, like, my head is still kind of in the time where it's like refreshing to see you know, that is to see depictions of women not wanting to have kids and that being okay. Obviously, in this film, it didn't really end up being that way.
It didn't pan out to be that at all.
But even if it had, I suppose you are right. It would be better if it was just their whole thing wasn't to do with motherhood at all. Whereas I'm still a step back and I'm kind of going like, well, if it has to be all about motherhood, I'm glad that it doesn't always have to be good. You know, it doesn't have to be that motherhood is the goal or whatever.
Yeah, it's there like justifying that she doesn't want motherhood by saying that like
she previously had
she
it.
previously like drowned a baby. Like, what the fuck? No, that didn't fly for me at all. I was like, you know, because it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't think it's one of those things. Listen, listener, I don't think, I'm talking to you really, I guess. I don't think that it's something that can't be a theme. It definitely can. I just, please someone do something else. Have a character and have their motivations or like their backstory be something that isn't some kind of tragic motherhood centric shit.
Yeah, I guess you're right, because this is a story about three women and all of their stories tie into motherhood.
Yeah, no, it's just tiring, you know. I'm kind of sick of it.
Okay, that's a very good point. I feel like this podcast, from my memory of it those few years ago that we did it, is just me being corrected on a lot of things.
I don't think that's true. I think like I speak my opinions with such conviction that you can't help but be like, maybe she's got something. And you can hang up and be like, she's full of shit. Do I have anything else
to say on motherhood or the three women?
Themes.
Oh yeah, see, my notes were not that in depth at all. It was just my thoughts as I was watching it. I haven't written down any themes.
Oh yeah, well these are my thoughts as they were coming, but I suppose I'm trying to arrange them into, is there anything in here that is on the theme of what the themes were?
And what were the themes?
Well, you see, I started a few notes in the beginning that were more about the public transportation system, and I was like,
Catherine loves public transportation
I love public transportation systems. I love rail systems in particular. So when this movie kicked off, and like, obviously we have, what's her name? Emma Watson?
No, Emily Blunt, who is Rachel.
Some British Emma/Emily. I know it's not Emma Watson.
So Hermione is on the train.
Hermione's on the train. She's going to Hogwarts. She has to attack transgenders in public.
Oh my
god. She doesn't have to do that. She can stop doing that whenever she wants. What was I saying? Oh yeah,
Lord knows.
It took me ages to realize that this wasn't set in England.
I was just as we were having this, I was like, hang on, is this in England? Because we were just in England and the train station didn't look like that. And then I remembered that I'm accent deaf, but I know that Emily Blunt famously has an English accent.
She has an English accent in this film too.
Yeah, so I was like, does she be English? I don't know.
Yeah, because I think the first two characters you hear speaking are her, and then it's dead mistress.
Megan.
Megan is missing. And
missing Meg.
Yeah. Missing leg.
That's nothing.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, because then I wasn't sure like if which one of them was out of place, like which one of them. No, that's a wrong thing to say. But which one of them, you know, is in
which one of them has the wrong accent?
Which one of them is a foreign person? Which one of you is an immigrant? And it took me ages to realize it was in. I googled while we were watching the movie like where it was set, because they said at one point.
She takes the train to New York.
Yeah. I googled it way earlier than that because they said something about Ardsley on Hudson, and I was like, that's an extremely like British sounding place name, but it's in New York State.
Yeah, these are things
the Hudson River is in New York, like, but you never know like if it's named after a river that's in England or whatever.
Yeah,
and like no one in New York, well, people in New York take trains, but people in America. Like the kind of intercity commuter train thing, like isn't as common as it would be in Britain or whatever, or even here. I
feel like you could use information about public transport in whatever country to solve very specific crimes.
Thank you. I mean, like me and your nan.
Yes.
Yeah.
You could make quite an interesting crime-solving duo.
Yeah, it's like he said he was on the 49 at 21:42, but it doesn't run that late.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's helpful
in certain settings.
In certain settings, yeah. Well, it means I can help people get places faster than they normally would. You know,
Yeah.
you could really take the 77A instead. It's much better. Comes every 10 minutes as opposed to every half hour.
I don't know what you're talking about because I learned to drive, so
just immediately deleted all bus and train information. Yeah.
What is bus?
I still try to take the public transportation as much as I can.
Maybe you should write a film set on public transportation that basically goes in the direction that you hoped that this film would go.
I was honestly thinking that while I was watching this movie. I was like, what would I have happen?
This is like when we went to the cave paintings in France on our honeymoon.
Oh yeah. And you like blacked out entirely and was like,
what if this was a murder mystery?
Murder mystery.
And then in my head, I was playing a completely different story. So then when we like went back into the cold light of day, I was like, let me tell you about my experience while we were in those caves.
And I was there like tearing up about like ancient civilizations painting these beautiful portraits of bisons.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
You're like, Butler did it. Why is there a butler in a cave? I don't know.
I really should get back to that because what I had put together was so... I thought it could be something. The next time
holidays can be very inspirational.
What?
Holidays can be very inspirational.
Yeah. I thought you said how it is can be very inspirational.
No,
and I was like, what? You just want... That's a documentary. That's not a murder mystery. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Back to the current murder mystery at hand.
This murder mystery. Who done it?
Yeah, and the end is the man did it.
There's like 2 men.
There's 3 men and all of them are scum. Because there's
the cop doesn't really count.
No, not the cop. There's
the therapist.
Yeah, there's the husband who ends up being the murderer and also the gaslighter of poor Emma Watson.
Yes. That's Emma Watson's ex-husband.
Yeah. There is the girl who goes missing, her husband, who turns out to be a little bit on the violent side. So he's also scum. And then...
Oh, that was another... No, keep going.
And then there's the therapist that woman who goes missing is having an affair with, which makes him the least scummy because all he's doing is being an unethical doctor. Whereas the others are being violent and abusive.
I mean, she's just like actively slobbing on him, like, and he's like...
So he's off the hook, it's fine.
Well, because he's like, stop, you're going to get me fired, or like, you're going to ruin my practice, or whatever. He's at least resisting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's the least scummy of the... So those are the 3 men that have names in this film, and those are... Anyway, what were you about to say about the abusive, violent guy?
I don't remember.
No, Catherine!
What was I going to say about him? Oh, yeah, I wrote in my notes. I can find it.
I'll just play elevator music here.
Oh yeah, I wish Megan was faking abuse to fuck the shrink.
Oh yes.
I said this while we were watching
it.
Because there's a bit where she's there like recounting how, he, whenever the subject comes up, he in therapy with the blockheaded psychiatrist guy. And
that's a low blow. She's like, he looks like a Lego and he's also not ethical.
I mean, like, isn't that supposed to be a typically attractive male
Lego looking
skeleton structure? Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been reading the magazines that talk about the hot skeleton structure.
Okay, well, sign up to Phrenology Today.
Is this what Bones is about?
I have the entirety of Bones on DVD.
Yeah, well, this is how you know who's hot.
Did you know, fun fact while we're in the middle of this, that it's actually quite hard to sex skeletons?
No, I didn't. I don't watch Bones.
Oh, well, this isn't about Bones. It's about like real life archaeology.
Okay.
Is that you kind of make generalizations based on skulls, basically, like, jaws and that kind of thing, and based on hips, but you can't be 100% certain because, like, they're dead, like, and there's a lot of variation between, all people of all sexes, so you don't know 100% from a skeleton what sex somebody was. You can just guess. And it's not... You can't be sure. You kind of have to go like, it's a male skeleton, and you don't.
And then
you don't
hope
know.
Nobody questions.
And hope everyone says, yeah. Actually, a lot of skeletons and stuff they assume the gender based on what they were buried with.
Oh, really?
So, like, there are some, like, RNAs.
Gender roles are helpful.
Yeah, well, they're not helpful is the point. Like, so, like, a lot of the time they would see, like, an Iron Age skeleton or whatever buried with a sword and be like, I guess they were a warrior, which means they must have been male.
Yeah.
And call it a male that they found. And it's not necessarily helpful to view, you know, past civilizations like that. It's kind of, it's not helpful.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
When I upload this podcast, I'm going to title it Person Who's Never Seen Bones Describes the Show Bones.
It's where they bone bones.
Anyway, sorry, tell us about the unethical doctor with the Lego head.
Oh yeah, well, I was defending him. I was like,
okay.
you know, there's just he has a weird nymphomaniac person in his office. And I don't think it's his fault. Oh yeah, I said I wish Megan was faking abuse to fuck the shrink, and
that would have made her a very interesting character.
I think that would have made her a more interesting character. You see, all these times I was seeing all these things where I was like, yeah, because she's like describing her abuse to the guy, and then she like immediately starts like slobbing on his knob, sort of. Sorry about the description. She starts like sort of like mewling at his groin area.
It literally, there isn't even a knob in it. She sucks his finger. Catherine is just playing at a different film.
She's like sort of chomping at his like waist area, and he's like, Megan, please. And then she starts sucking on his finger. And it goes on for a while.
I feel like from this conversation, I understand better now your opinion on many films, because I feel like you're watching films on a different level to what I'm watching. I'm literally just taking them as they're coming, and you're like,
well, I think that,
but what if it's this?
I feel like that's what I think a movie like this is inviting you to do that.
Yeah.
Especially a film like this where like sometimes murder mystery stuff, like, you know, it's kind of so out there and it could be anyone at any time. I'm just like, yeah, whatever, let's just let it slide over me. But something like this where it's like you have the unreliable narrator thing where like she's barely remembering stuff and she's getting head trauma and everything. It's kind of like, it's inviting you to like tease apart what might be real and what might be fake. And then when it so blatantly has most of it be real, I'm just kind of like, oh, okay. I wish more of it was like fake, I guess.
Yeah.
Or like exaggerated, or like people were kind of like double crossing and gaslighting each other. I wish it was more than just like the one guy at the end was like, oh, I was lying to you when you were drunk, you know.
And I can see why your opinion of it wasn't as good as mine. Oh, what did you think about the performances, though? Because I kind of wasn't thinking about it up until the point when Emily Blunt does that monologue in the bathroom where she's kind of drunk and she's kind of basically giving us the backstory that we need to understand you know, what happened to her marriage and that kind of thing. But during that monologue, I thought she did so well. Like,
I thought she did really good. I thought her acting was really good. I believed her. Like, she seemed genuine. Like, she did good drunk acting, I thought.
Yeah.
Because there was a few times where I was like, this is genuinely convincing alky behavior.
Yeah.
Where, like, she had the slur really good. Because you know the way sometimes, like, actors would do drunk acting where they're like,
yeah.
And it's like, okay, yeah, that's what a cartoon drunk person does. But, like, she had, like, that kind of, like, just dipping out of consciousness.
Yeah.
Slurring really accurately, I felt.
I mean, no, this is not me in any way discrediting her, because I do think she acted really well, but I also think that the cinematography helped a lot as well with the kind of, you know, the blacking in and out and the weaving and stuff. I kind of thought that the visuals sort of complemented the performance quite nicely as well.
Yeah, I found at certain points that the way the frame rate dropped could have been utilized a bit better. There were certain points where like the frame rate got a bit choppy as it was like, you know, where she was drunk and like not seeing things properly, and you know, she was kind of running through the woods and the camera was going crazy, and I thought that was quite effective. And it was like, you know, oh, the guy's following her, because that kind of is how it feels when you're like disorientingly drunk, and it's like, you know, everything is like your eyes aren't catching up to where they're looking and that kind of thing. But then they used it at different points as well. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this kind of undermines the technique a little bit. They used it a little bit later on with some of the Megan scenes. And it was kind of like they were just like throwing you know, the same editing technique from before to make things distressing onto later scenes that were supposed to be distressing, but they were communicating a different thing. And I was kind of like, oh, okay. I guess I kind of wished it was a bit more consistent in that way, because I thought it was quite effective in places.
Actually, yeah, you mentioned Megan, and she was the other one. So those were literally the two people whose performances I was like, oh wow, they were really good. I know, obviously, again, for me, I was kind of focusing on sort of the backstory that you didn't like of Megan's. But like, I thought when she was telling the story of, you know, how she lost her child and, you know, the dead brother, and going to live in the cabin with, you know, and being depressed, and everyone thought they were dead and all this kind of stuff, like, I thought she did that quite well. And also, honestly, when she ran out of the bathtub, I kind of just believed it. That was why I didn't really think of it I didn't really think of it as like gratuitous sexualization. I didn't think anything sexy of it at all, because I thought, well, she kind of crawled. I thought it was kind of, she crawled out of the tub like a, you know who she reminded me of? Maybe I make this comparison too much, but she reminded me of like fetus Voldemort when she sort of you know, clawed her way out of the tub, and she's kind of crawling across the ground, and she runs out into the woods, and it's wet, so it's muddy, and like, I just kind of, I don't know, I just sort of felt the impact of that scene, which obviously you did not at all. But
I didn't buy it for a second.
Yeah, whereas...
like, to the point where, like, I was like, as we were watching it the second time there, I was like, because we didn't see a baby
they couldn't show us a baby.
No, even alive though.
Oh, okay.
There wasn't a baby shown at any point until they were burying it. Where I was like, is she lying about this? Like, is this a
right?
lie?
Okay.
Like,
see, this is
that's
again
the point at which, that's the degree to which I didn't believe it.
You are 3D chessing this film. Like, my God.
It's inviting you to. You see, I wouldn't do this kind of thing with like fucking Boss Baby. I'd be like, it's the Boss Baby.
I don't know what that means.
He's serving. It's a movie called Boss Baby.
Okay.
What do you mean you don't know what that means? Now you're trying to think ahead of me. It's very simple.
I'm
gaslighting. He's a boss and
you.
he's a baby. Yeah. What's to be confused about?
Actually, speaking I just mentioned the word gaslighting. You may recall that you've had to explain the term gaslighting to me
so many times that I feel like you're gaslighting me.
No, I have not been. I genuinely have not been. But it was something that you explained to me, and it was so alien to my life that I just didn't understand it and could not ever remember it. And then when I saw this film, I was like, oh my God, that's what gaslighting is. And it was
made it click for you.
Yeah. This film was the definition of gaslighting that I needed in order for it to stick in my brain.
Yeah, I feel like I've had enough like glancing experiences of abusive people that I kind of like get it. Like, it's never been done to me, but like, I guess I've seen it be done to other people.
Oh, see, I live in a bubble.
Bubbles are sometimes the places where they happen the most. You should watch out. I could be gaslighting you this very minute. But what?
Did we even watch a film?
We don't have a dog. I've just been jingling like a dog tag around a little bit every now and again. It's like, oh, that's just the dog letting herself out to go wee. Don't worry about it.
Just tearing up all the rubbish, making messes, and being like, oh, the damn dog.
That would be so funny. Someone pooped on the floor again.
One thing that I wrote down was, imagine having a nanny whilst also being a full-time mom. Because that was how the second wife knew Megan, who goes missing, was that Megan was her nanny. So Megan, who goes missing, is minding the child of the second wife. And this wife doesn't have a job and is a full-time mother. And I'm like, wow, I can't even picture that being a thing.
In what sense? Like,
being a full-time mom, but also having a nanny?
A lot of energy being put into this one baby.
Yeah, and also being able to afford a nanny on one income. It's like,
and also he's paying, oh my God, that leads into another note that I took, where main character, Rachel, I said, her alimony must be good. She hangs out in nice bars. So your man, the murderer, would have been paying for a nanny, earning enough money for his wife to stay home and not work, and be paying enough alimony to his ex-wife so she can pay rent in presumably somewhere all right in upstate New York, and she's drinking in nice places.
Well, she doesn't, she lives on her friend's couch, though. Let's not forget.
Does she live on a couch?
Well, I don't know if it's literally a couch, but she is crashing at her friend's house. Oh, hang on.
It's not a couch, she has a bed. Because your man, the husband of missing Megan, comes over to visit her and falls asleep on her bed. And she gropes him in his sleep.
Oh, very yeah.
And I presume that she wouldn't have let her guest sleep on her roommate's, Laura Prepon's, bed.
Okay, yeah, I guess you're right. Maybe they are actually roommates. But the way I read the situation was that she was just, like, crashing at Laura Prepon's house. Because she was sort of saying, like, you know, oh, it was originally meant to be a few weeks and now it's been 2 years. But I guess you're right. It could be a guest room. And she did also mention paying rent.
Yeah, because she was lying about going to work to Laura Prepon.
Yeah.
Which, oh my God, that's murderer behavior.
It really is. So that's when you kind of start going, oh, wow, she really could have done this.
Yeah, like I kind of wish they let her be more of a bad person.
Yeah.
You know, because like at the end, it kind of like, they had flashbacks of her, like, you know, smashing up stuff in their house, like her and her ex-husband's house, and like kind of wrecking stuff for him. And that's kind of part of why I liked her as a character, where it's like this, you know, because I think alcoholics are very destructive, like addicts of any kind are very destructive people to be around, and they do kind of like wreck shit and are hard to live with. And I feel like that being your main character is cool, you know?
I guess you're right, because it is kind of, that reality is kind of glossed over by the fact that it's like, well, actually she didn't do those things. Sure, she's drunk sometimes, but she didn't do any of the bad things.
Yeah, she just kind of like had to take a nap at his boss's party. Yeah. Because she got a bit too drunk a bit too early.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, I actually, you know what? Something that I did like was that she was an alcoholic from before they got divorced. Because at the start of the movie, I was like, oh, well, she got, like, alcoholic because, like, she was divorced and she couldn't have a baby or whatever. But it's like, oh, well, maybe it's just the baby thing.
Yeah.
It was just the baby thing. No, I don't like it anymore. Again, it's all about baby.
Your relationship with this film is so fickle.
It is, yeah. I feel like, I don't usually, like, feel like I can rate a movie. I feel like this is a solid 6 out of 10 for me.
Okay. I would say prior to rewatching it now, I probably would have given it an 8 out of 10 for the level of enjoyment that I remember getting from it. But I do feel like now it probably is more verging on like 6 territory. I feel like there's a lot about it that's good. I think a lot of the performances were good. I think the visuals were pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah. I enjoyed looking at trains.
Yeah.
If you like trains, there's a few of them in there.
There are also a lot of nice houses.
It's like the one line. It's the one kind of train. But,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, I think there was a lot about it that was good. And honestly, I don't really feel like there was a lot about it that was bad. I just think there are some things that could have been better. Like, I don't think I have any specific problems with it. Yeah,
because I feel like this movie, it's in a genre or a subgenre that's kind of fallen out of fashion now. The kind of post Gone Girl thriller boom, I suppose, is how I would,
which is exactly where I want to live.
Where you want to live.
I want every film to be Gone Girl.
That's the thing, like, because I feel like Gone Girl, we personally,
how many times have we watched?
Like, we've watched Gone Girl together quite a few times. We've seen Gone Girl separately quite a few times as well, and it's like, it's eminently rewatchable because the story is just like, it's so well put together, and it's so fun to watch unfold every time because it's just good. Like, you just want to see how, you know, all of the pieces come together and everything. And like, I feel like this is definitely a one-watch movie for me.
Yeah. See, I
even though I've watched it twice.
Now, I think, I'm glad you brought up Gone Girl, because I think Gone Girl did something to me where, like, I wanted, after watching Gone Girl, I wanted other films to be as good as Gone Girl, and none of them were. And this was the first film that I saw after Gone Girl that I was like, oh, that was almost as good as Gone Girl. Like, I really enjoyed that.
It was giving you the same...
It was giving me the same stuff that Gone Girl gave me.
Nothing has given me Gone Girl since Gone Girl. I've actually, I started reading Sharp Objects by Gillian.
Yeah, but the fact that you haven't finished it
I haven't
crazy.
finished it because we moved.
That's not fair. You were reading it in your parents' house for a very long time. We were there for 9 months and you still haven't read it. Don't make excuses. It's a brilliant book.
It's not about the book. It's about my inability to read. It's about my inability to have concentration on anything. So thanks for Thanks for challenging me on that.
Sorry. I'm just very surprised because I devoured Gillian Flynn books.
Yeah, I definitely, like, I you know, because I haven't finished a novel in a really long time. I've read a lot of nonfiction books in the meantime. You know, I've read kind of instructional, not instructual, that's not anything. Like books about, like, you know, certain things that I do.
How to train dog, how to identify this plant.
Yeah, like I've read, like, you know, like sort of textbook type stuff. But like novels, I don't really read that much anymore. And I think the last novel that I finished was The Terror. And that was a really long time ago. And I loved that. So I don't know why. But I was really enjoying that.
Yeah.
And I feel like it being part of that. Yeah, I might be misattributing like the influence of that movie on this movie.
Right.
But because I feel like it's, you know, a kind of thriller film based on a book by a female author with kind of, you know, maybe it's wrong to say a female lead. But it does feel like part of that sort of clade of movies that came out around that time. Girl in the Window being a similar one that sucked shit.
God, that was
awful.
That film hurt my feelings because I wanted another girl on the train, which was another Gone Girl.
It just thinks a girl in the title.
Exactly.
Where fucked up girls get more fucked up in some way, shape, or form.
And then it turns out to be a man's fault.
And it's a man's fault all along.
Yeah. And it's a terrible shame because the Gillian Flynn book, what was the film that did come out? It was Dark Places.
Yeah.
And that film, despite being based on a Gillian Flynn book like Gone Girl, just not as good.
Not as punchy, no. Well, because I feel like David Fincher was a good match as a director for a project like that. Because like his kind of visual style and his like directing style like very much matches like her tone.
Yeah.
And like her style of storytelling.
I do think Sharp Objects is a better story than Dark Places. So I would be very interested to see if they do a film based on that.
Did they not do a series, or am I
think they did do a series, but we haven't seen it because it was on something that we don't have, like Apple TV or...
one of those fucked up ones.
Yeah. If it's on Amazon Prime, then we should do it now while I'm on my free trial.
That's a good idea.
I'll have a look.
Let's find out if they did in fact adapt Sharp Objects and whether or not we can watch it.
Will it be another Gone Girl? Who's to say?
I feel like if it was another Gone Girl, we would have seen something about it.
Yeah, definitely.
So I feel like something that is that good rarely escapes like some kind of cultural niche that we would blush against, you know.
I know.
The gays would be talking about it.
I hope so. I rely on the gays for so much. And yeah, I have on my list on Netflix is just a bunch of films that I'm hoping are Gone Girl.
No.
That's all. In fact, there was one time that you and I watched Gone Girl 2 days in a row. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Because we watched it together one night.
We watched it together, and then I think, was it Matt suggested that we watch it?
Matt, Catherine's brother / one of my best friends.
Yeah, because during COVID, we were doing movie nights over Zoom with friends, and they were kind of like, you know, we would exchange turns of it, and you know, we would come forward with 3 different choices, and one of them was Gone Girl. We were like, fuck yeah.
Everyone was like,
Gone Girl.
Yeah, when it came time for us to vote, we were like, oh, we watched it yesterday. And Michelle was like, oh, okay, we'll watch something else then. And we were like, no. We're voting for Gone Girl. So to conclude, my verdict of this film is why isn't it Gone Girl?
Watch Gone Girl instead. Yeah. If you have already seen Gone Girl, just watch Gone Girl again.
I know. Yeah. It's always good.
Tune in next week. By which I mean 2025.
Good night.